See? See. Okay, so let's speak English, and that this will be an international, a really international press conference. Thank you very much for being here. We are still looking forward to see some more of your colleagues, but they will arrive, and we cannot be very late because we have several commitments that we have. Now, this is the ICJP plus the World Jewish Congress together. We are here because we feel that we are in a situation of distress and need all over the world, and particularly in Europe, and that we need a strong and deep reflection and thought about what is going on in Europe and what is going on with, in our relationship, I mean European relationship, with the Arab world after the revolutions, with Iran, and with the problem of anti-Semitism. Let's say that these three main problems are the ones that bring us here. First of all, I want to tell you, before I introduce my friends that are sitting here with me and that are part of the ICJP and of the World Jewish Congress, who are the people that are sitting here, and what is the ICJP, because the World Jewish Congress, everybody knows, Dan Dijker is the Secretary General. Everybody knows that the World Jewish Congress is an organization which is the umbrella of all the main Jewish organizations all over the world. So it's important, it's quite clear. The ICJP is the organization that puts together all the Jewish members of all the parliament of the world. This is not a worldwide conference, this is a regional conference, a European conference. All over the world we are more or less 300 members of the parliament who are Jewish. Me, myself, for instance, I was elected in Jerusalem when we had our last Congress organized together with the World Jewish Congress by a delegation of 55 members of the ICJP. And we have many members in the United States, many in South America. And in Europe we have quite enough, but we are still trying to put everybody together, and I think that we are succeeding all along the time with all of our work to make the things wake up and work, and we really feel that our parliaments give us a lot of importance, a lot of space. The demonstration of this is that we have been received this morning, Mr. Loder, Dan, and I, with Mr. Gattegna, because it is tradition to have with us the President of the Union of the Community where you find yourself in, by Prime Minister Monti. And if you have questions about that, you will ask me afterwards. And and we will be received in the afternoon by President Fini, and in the evening we have a dinner guest hosted by the foreign minister. So, I mean, all of the Italian institutional body has the sense that it is very important for Italy to be the home, in this case, of this action that the World Jewish Congress and the European Jewish parliamentarians are taking. Italy is the home for this our initiative, and I'm very proud of that. Okay, I will tell you that the people that you see here are a part of our organization. They will all speak in the conference that you have the program of, and that will be taking place tomorrow. I start from my right side. We have the Honorable Tibor Zani. I hope I said the name you know, when you're called the Nirenstein, you have to have some experience of how you pronounce names. And he's a Hungarian member of the parliament for the Socialist Party, and he has been also elected to the presidium of the Hungarian Socialist Party in 2010-2012. And he's an economist, and he studied economy and graduated and received a doctoral degree. He speaks a lot of language, and he has a very long curricula that you will have the occasion to meet again all over our initiatives. Then each of us will speak a few words, and you will get to know everybody better. Then you have Caroline Sieber, who is a member of the Swedish Parliament since September 2010 for the Christian Democratic Party. This is Caroline. She's a member of the Committee of Justice, deputy member of the Committee of the European Union Affairs, deputy member of the Committee on the Constitution. So you will ask yourself how, being so young, she's got to get so many important responsibilities. You can ask her, she will answer to you. Then we have Viviane, who is a member of the board of our organization, Viviane Teitelbaum, a journalist and author. We share plenty of common thought. Since 2004, she's a member of the parliament. She has got a master's degree in journalism and social communication, and I can say that she her the big responsibility and burden of being a Jewish woman in a parliament where it is not easy to be Jewish. We are used to that, you know? Being a Jew, new situation that you have to face. Then we have here the Honorable Shai Hermes, that was born in Tel Aviv, and he has been a member. He's a member of the party Kadima that just a few days ago, as you know, joined together with the Likud party to form a new coalition. He's also a member of our board. He's a member of Finance Committee. He's a member of the Knesset Caucus, and plenty of different responsibility as a very senior member. Okay, you will have the occasion of knowing us all over our works. And then we have Zarko Korak, a Serbian psychologist and politician who teaches while being in the parliament. He teaches psychology at the University of Belgrade, Faculty of Philosophy, and he's one of the founders and president of the Social Democratic Union. He has a very important career, because he has been Deputy Prime Minister in the government of Serbia between 2001 and 2003. I'm sorry to have to shorten this, because all of us has a long story, and each of it is a very important one. So Dan Dykeri, as I told you, is the General Secretary of the World Jewish Congress. He lives in Israel, but he lives mostly on an airplane. And so you can never find him. Only a few minutes between an airplane and the other. And also this time he was coming from the United States, came to Italy, went back to Israel, came back here, now going to California. Just, you know, I don't know how he can endure that, but he does, because of his strong faith and culture, and I really appreciate his really great personality. And now I won't add anything, even if I had so many things to tell you. I just want to tell that our last mission was in New York. We went to the United Nations and then also to Washington to the Congress when there was the discussion about the intentions of the Palestinians. And we went, we discussed the issue, and then held the press conference at the United Nations about the issue. We discussed all together with all the ambassadors with many ambassadors, mostly of the European Union. It was very interesting and also very tough, I can tell you. Interesting and tough. And then we went to the Congress, to Washington, where we find a very warm situation that hearted us very much indeed. And we write a column every month, I would say, or try to keep it steady, that you will receive. Now, I would say that each of us can say a few words, and if I will have the time, then I will add a few words. But I think that this is the best way we can proceed. First, then I would give to Dan Dijker to say a few words. We make a quick turn. I would say no more than 3 minutes, 2-3 minutes. I'm sorry I took it longer, but it was just to present our organization. Dan.
Thank you very much, Fiamma. Good afternoon, everybody. My message to you this afternoon is that this is a partnership of the heart between the largest international political umbrella body called the World Jewish Congress. We represent about 100 communities in 100 countries who are democratically elected. In those 100 Jewish communities who are democratically elected, just as one example, we have with us today our friend Dr. Richard Pasquier, who is the head of a French jury of the CRIF, and we represent bodies such as the CRIF in 100 countries around the world. We represent those communities to international organizations such as the European Union, the UN, their own host governments, and parliaments. And so we thought in the last few years that it would be very important to reach out to natural allies in different parliaments around the world, which are parliamentarians of Jewish faith, of Jewish background, Jewish culture. And that's why we call it the Parliament of the Heart, the Partnership of the Heart. And there are so many issues, as Fiamma pointed out, that are of great concern, not only to Jews regarding Israel, but to the free world. And clearly, we intend through this partnership to bring up the problem, the terrible and urgent problem of the Iranian regime seeking nuclear weapons and supremacy in the Middle East with those nuclear weapons, as well as the intensifying problem of violent anti-Semitism in Europe, and other major issues. But for the purposes of today, those are the two major issues, and this is a critically important partnership for us, for the communities, the Jewish communities of the world, for the free world, and also for parliaments through which we work in those 100 countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm from the Parliament of Serbia. We just had elections that finished 10 days ago. Good news is we will have a pro-European government, no doubt. The talks didn't start yet. They start on Monday because we are facing a second round of presidential elections on Sunday. And I hope the incumbent, the former President Tadic, who was, by the way, a student of mine, psychologist, will get re-elected, which would be good for Serbia. Serbia is facing economic, social problems, no outstanding problems with a very small Jewish community, which is around 3,000 people. It's active. The good news from these elections are that two extreme right-wing parties didn't make it into parliament, didn't reach a threshold of 5%. But one of them is not really anti-Semitic, just it is extremely right, nationalistic party. The other one, we don't know yet, just been created. Serbia is struggling with its democratic development, and there isn't a very long or very strong tradition of anti-Semitism historically in my country. The only problems community is facing right now is the question of anti-Semitic publications. Society does not have an attitude on that. Should we print protocols of elders of Zion, Zion or so on, or not? And what is actually permissible in public speech? But these are questions all new democracies are facing, what to do. Serbia is, the election results are good, I would think, by large, not because my group will join government, parliamentary, but it's because we were worried that, as you know, economic downturn, economic troubles usually bring to power nationalists, and where there's nationalism, extreme nationalism, chauvinism, there is always a chance for anti-Semites, although we don't have them so many in Serbia. Thank you.
Shai.
Yeah. There's a large list of issues that the Israeli government, people in Israel are facing. I would emphasize just on one of them. All of us have been expecting to have the new regime around us in Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, Syria. We're expecting to have something better than we have before. The result is just the opposite. Now there's no one who is naive to believe that the change in all that regime will bring more stability and a positive and a better attitude to Israel in the Middle East. Just the opposite. We are all concerned about the Iranian threat, but we should take in consideration that the Iranian regime is now connected with the most extreme movement around our borders. Lebanon is not anymore independent. If it had been in the past, it's not just under the influence of Syria, but under strong power by the Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Palestinian authorities split between two authorities. One of them will look a little bit more, I would say, friendly and with kind of positive attitude to kind of arrangement. But the second part is located on the Gaza Strip, which is led by the Hamas. There is no any connection between both of them. We are facing a situation you don't know with whom you should negotiate. You will agree with the PLO, you will face with the Hamas, and just the opposite. So what I'll try to put in front of you now on that opportunity in our room is that the threat by Iran is not just the threat by Iran, but the influence encouraging by Iran around the borders from the State of Israel. So we should take it very seriously.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to underline that this kind of very important statement will be discussed at length and in depth by plenty of experts that we have here from all over the world. Tomorrow we will have it. I see one here, which is Ruthie Bloom, that came with us, and she's American, wrote a book about Iran. She will be one of the panelists tomorrow, and we will have so very many. We just have a look at the program. Please, Viviane.
Thank you. And first, allow me, Fiamma, to thank you for this gathering and organization and your passionate commitment to what is dear to us. I would like to say, first and foremost, that I am here today as a Democrat of my country, elected Democrat, fighting racism, fighting all discriminations, fighting homophobia, fighting sexist attitudes, and of course also fighting against anti-Semitism. I say that because, it is considered that anti-Semitism to be a barometer, a scale for democracy. When anti-Semitism rises, usually democracy gets lower. And when anti-Semitism is low, democracy is healthy. And today in Belgium, unfortunately, anti-Semitism is on the rise. And that's one thing. And it has different origins, and we can explain it, discuss it. The fact is, and this is getting me angry regularly, is that not enough politicians stand up and condemn these anti-Semitic acts. And it can be from beating up a young girl that has to change school. It can be like last week in a train where you could hear a message. It was on a train from a Walloon city to Brussels. And you could hear a message. This train goes to Auschwitz, and all the Jews are requested to get off at the Buchenwald station. So, of course, not of course, but the train management condemned the act. But I was quite alone to condemn it as a politician. And so I think it's important. You have laws that allow sometimes to prosecute, sometimes not, but one thing you don't need laws for is to condemn with a lot of determination what is going on. And so I think this is a responsibility for politicians, elected politicians, also for the media, and unfortunately in Belgium this is not happening so much. So I think it's important that from time to time elected parliamentarians that are also Jewish sit together and ring the bell, the alarm bell, and say, okay, this has gone too far and we need to sit down and think about actions to be taken and how to react. And so this is one of the reasons why I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Viviane. In fact, what we will try to do in our meetings afterwards is to study initiatives that will be good for all of our parliaments. So this is an action that will become as strong as possible because we all take it in our hands. Yes, best practices. Please, Caroline Sieber from Sweden.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. And I can only, when I hear Vivian say that we have similar problems in Sweden as well, and I think this conference gives us a good opportunity to speak about problems, but hopefully also similar solutions and how we can work together with all these issues, and maybe especially the growing anti-Semitism in some of the European countries.
Now it's your turn, Tibor.
Thank you. I think that I need to add 3 sentences to the introduction that Fiamma has performed so far. Namely, as much as anti-Semitism is concerned in Europe, well, I do trust that Hungary is not the worst place, but it is amongst the bad ones. Recently, the emerging appearance of anti-Semitism, even in open street, is a worrisome phenomenon. And I think that the broader approach to anti-Semitism is, of course, extremism, which is a special consequence of all social and economic crises. Now, I believe that we need, first of all, joint European efforts in order to overcome whatever economic crisis we do have. And in this sense, our group is having a very special role, by the way. The second issue, namely Iran and the Arab Spring. Yeah, at the beginning everybody thought that this is a kind of spring. Spring meant that time some hopes and steps for democracy. I don't really see the signs of that. So I think that we should stop talking about Arab Spring. It's rather Arab autumn from the European point of view, because if we do encourage in terms of communication, then maybe we will get to the opposite side, namely we are supporting something which is not true. The third issue, in just one sentence, if you permit, the question of Iran. Don't miss, Iran tries to find quite a lot of friends to its policies in Europe. I don't really exclude that some financial moves are also behind the scenes, and these do reflect sometimes ties to the extreme forces in Europe, including some Hungarian forces as well. So this is maybe not too far from realities. So I believe that that really needs quite much more attention than so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you have a sort of, some pick of examples that, of the discussions that we will have in these 2 days of works, and you can be part of them tomorrow when we are in our conference. Me, for myself, what I want to say in advance, as everybody put down a point, I will say for myself that I think that we must be in our relationship with the new politics that Europe has to organize in front of the changing of the Arab world and in front of the challenge of Iran. We have to take into account that there is an illness in Europe, an illness in thought in foreign policy, which is called putting the blame on Israel. This is something that, in my opinion, is a sort of a virus which has been infecting all of our way of thinking. This is the subject that I will try to develop tomorrow when we are in the conference. And please, now, if you wanna ask questions, you're very welcome.
So I just would like to ask, many of you thought about as one of the hope for some changes in why Europe doesn't support and change, like being only in Libya, and we just left when everything ended. Thank you.
Answer from the point of view of Israel, we never believe about anything. It was your naive attitude that spring is going to blossom there. Yeah, right. It can't be a spring when the Tahrir Square. I'll give you only one example. I'm chairing the Knesset delegation to the OSCE. We meet there on what we call the Mediterranean neighbors. We are not full members there. And I met the delegate from Egypt. He was not a member of the parliament, in spite of the fact that you should be a member of the parliament to participate in that organization. He was the deputy ambassador in Vienna at that time. And I asked him, what about you delegate from the parliament? So the answer was that we don't need delegate. The Tahrir Square is our delegate. Even if someone believes that 5 million people are going to be a delegate, so it looks like.
That's interesting. Please.
I'm a bit old. Yeah, I'm a bit older. You have factual things and you have interpretation, and we should mix those things. There is a fact that these societies are changing. They're changing very quickly. I don't think even participants in those events are quite sure where do they go, how do they go, where do they lead. And also, there is obviously a lot of confusion in the West how to treat those things. I will give you one small example. One world institution is refining its criteria for judging a democracy. And they are basically dealing with Europe. And they came recently to Belgrade to ask us, what do we think? They are touring different European countries, how to refine or change, redefine criteria for democratic development of certain society. Of course, it especially applies to post-communist societies. And they are now thinking of expanding to Middle East and Mediterranean-based area. And we commended this. We think it's a very good thing. But we said if you directly apply criteria European, you will be in trouble. I will just give you one example. Position of women. Obviously, we have to judge differently now. It's a road. And we have to judge by how far certain societies go along that road. But to use criteria that you can actually apply in most of European countries, if not all, would not be beneficial. So Europe right now is actually not certain, I can only talk about Europe, how to approach those things because they are changing. And European diplomacy, as you know, is not easy to adapt to anything. It takes a very, very long time to EU to make a common decision on anything. So basically what you have here, intellectuals and media making interpretations, often very good interpretations, but those things are changing all the time, and it's not easy to make prediction or even an assessment of what is happening in this moment. It's very often, I agree, wishful thinking. I would give you that, but that's part of human nature. We always like to think that things will come out in some decent and good way.
Okay. I want to say that, on the contrary to Shai, the Arab Spring was a fabulous momentum of hope for many Democrats, especially in Europe. And I think that's the way it should be when tyranny is run over. And that's how I felt, and that's how many of my friends in the parliament felt. And we were hoping for something. But Europe cannot be the model for other countries, and that we have to learn as well. And we cannot impose it. And we cannot go at war every time for other countries in other countries. That's not possible. So where I agree with Shai is that, unfortunately, the hope was of not of a long lifetime span, because, and especially, I would say, because I'm president of the Council of Women in Belgium, especially for women. Today in Egypt, the situation is catastrophe for women. In Libya, it's not good. In Tunisia, it's worse and worse, also for Jews. And I will say usually it's for all those categories together. When it's not good for women, it's usually not good for Jews. It's usually not good for homosexuals. And it's usually not good for anyone who is fighting for someone that's not going with the ideas of the power in place. So today it's a fight that's in front of us, but it's not our fight. But yes, the momentum of hope was fabulous, and it was there.
Just a word of context. That two colleagues have said that there's a great danger in the West among our elites, you, the journalists, the academic classes, political classes, to, how do we say, to superimpose our view of what we would like the Middle East to be on the way the Middle East really is. And therein lies a terrible, dangerous contradiction, because the way the Middle East is culturally and politically is very different from the way life is in this parliament and in the parliaments of Europe. And perhaps one of the groups that we represent, the World Jewish Congress, are the 850,000 Jewish men, women, no longer children, but men and women who were exiled or left as refugees from their homes in Arab countries. And they have been telling us, be careful about not superimposing Western ideas on what are called the Middle East revolutions. Because if you look around the world, you look around the Middle East today, those revolutions clearly are dominated by Islamists and not Democrats in the image of our parliamentarians on the panel today. And I think we ought to be careful, as Professor Bernard Lewis keeps, at 96 years old, trying to remind us in the West all the time that the Middle East operates according to a different set of rules. And we ought to be careful to pay attention to the way they see themselves and not the way we would like to see them. Thanks.
If I can add a word, in my opinion, we have not yet decided in the West what we want to do with them, because at the beginning we were hopeful, and then we saw terrible things happening. I want only to remind you that yesterday on the television, the two persons that are supposed to become, one of them, the president of Egypt, their race was not about how to develop the economy of Egypt, which is in a desperate need, but who of them will have the honor of breaking the peace treaty with Israel, which is the only good thing that they have done in the last 30 years. So, no, what I want to say, without joking, is to say that we will have to tell these people, look, we want to help you, we want to give you money, but you have not to make war to Israel, to treat women better, don't kill homosexuals, respect human rights, you know. So the key word is conditional. Our help and our relationship with the new Middle East must be condizionale. Noi vi aiutiamo se. Questa è la mia personale risposta. Dan, do you want to talk about that?
If I understood the question, I will talk about it. Can you translate that
Sì, it's just
basic
the meeting with Monti, because this was not a general meeting.
Oh,
he
with Prime
invited
Minister?
only the president of the World Jewish Congress plus the secretary, and myself as the president of the ICJP plus Catania. That was the delegation. Questa era la delegazione. È stato un ottimo incontro, ora ti dico poi anche il mio.
Yeah, this morning's meeting with the Prime Minister was led by World Jewish Congress President Ronald Lauder, together with President Nirenstein and myself, and Deputy Secretary General Dr. Maram Stern from Brussels. We were very encouraged by the Prime Minister's words. He was very warm in his support for the Jewish people, the community here in Italy, as well as Italy's ongoing support for and friendship towards the State of Israel. And Prime Minister mentioned also his previously stated concern that economic sanctions against Iran continued to be taken very seriously. These are continuing comments that he had made during his official visit in Israel. And he also expressed what I would call a zero-tolerance policy for anti-Semitism in Italy, and asked and called, challenged himself to maintain that policy in the context of his embrace of the Jewish people. We walked out very, very encouraged by the words of the Prime Minister.
Sì, io aggiungerei soltanto appunto che è stato sorprendente la velocità e la grazia con cui il Primo Ministro ha accettato l'incontro, ha anche dichiarato stamani di essere molto soddisfatto del fatto che si tenga a Roma questa conferenza e questa discussione. Mi ha colpito personalmente in maniera molto positiva il suo sincero affetto per il popolo ebraico e per Israele. Come sapete è appena tornato da un viaggio in Medio Oriente e diciamo le sue impressioni erano fresche e positive. Ha anche detto che la politica di amicizia nei confronti dello Stato di Israele tenuta in questi anni è completamente confermata e rinnovata. Bene, this has been the first ever held conference in English in the Italian Parliament, so we've got a record that we will never forget. All right, so if don't have more, we can slowly start going to Presidente Fini. And I thank you so much for being here. Whatever else, we are at your disposal. So you will find us all over in the next hours. You know, I suppose you have all the materials and the names and the programs. So thank you very much indeed.